They said it wasn't humanly possible. But now you can have all the power and excitement of Nintendo right in the palm of your hand. Introducing Game Boy. It's portable, it's in stereo, and its games are interchangeable. Plus, Game Boy comes with the outrageous new game, Tetris. And for head-to-head competition, use the revolutionary video link and blow your opponent away. Game Boy, only from Nintendo. Now you're playing with power, portable power.
The Nintendo Game Boy was the second console I ever owned. I remember saving up for it and my sister lending me enough money to bridge the gap. It came with Mega Man 2 and the original Super Mario Land. I spent countless hours on it, especially on long trips where my dad would drive us to the coast for our holidays. I still enjoy a lot of the games now and thought I'd put together this list of my top 7 games to start your Game Boy collection. I tried to stick to just 5, I really did, but as one is obviously essential and the other is from the same franchise, I had to accommodate for that. The rules I've set myself are the games need to be for the original Game Boy, which means I won't be including Game Boy Advance or Game Boy Color titles in this list. I'll be saving them for another video at a later date. I've also made the very difficult decision of not including the Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening in this list, as the DX version will be featured in the Game Boy Color recommendations. It would have been my number 1 choice for sure, so give that a try if you were limited to just playing original Game Boy games. At number 7 we start with possibly the most predictable entry. If you own a Game Boy, you need to own Tetris. It's as simple as that. It's almost as essential as owning batteries or a power supply. This game contributed to the huge number of sales for the console and is a timeless classic, a fantastically addictive and portable puzzle game that I guess needed no introduction. Metroid 2 Return of Samus wasn't an easy game to list here, as it's not quite as accessible and simple to just pick up and play as other titles. However, this eerie and atmospheric adventure has you exploring a planet in search for Metroids to destroy as a sequel to the original and predecessor to the Super Nintendo classic. That's right, this isn't a simplified port or an experimental side mission, it's an exclusive full game which is part of the plot as a continuation of the story. Metroid 2 is in stark contrast to many other games on the system, especially in this list, as it is more of a dark and mature experience requiring patience, but ultimately very rewarding. At first I assumed Donkey Kong would just be a simple port of the classic arcade game, and for the first 4 levels it kind of is. What blew my mind with this version is that after you beat those, the game opens up into a huge puzzle platformer with over 90 additional levels. There's a great amount of variety in the stages, where you must continue to avoid traps and enemies, but collect keys, solve puzzles and somersault your way to victory. There's also some fun battle stages, and this looks great if you own a Super Game Boy cartridge for your Super Nintendo. At number 4 we have Kirby's Dream Land, where this pink little creature made his debut. He actually appeared as white on the game cover and box art because of a misunderstanding between Nintendo of America and Japan, but oddly I had absolutely no idea he was meant to be pink until Super Smash Bros. Came out on the Nintendo 64. Anyway, this little adventure platformer is short and sweet. The music is fantastic, Kirby of course is adorable and full of character, and whilst he doesn't have the power to copy his enemies' powers in this first outing, there's enough foundations and familiarity here for fans of newer games to still get a lot of enjoyment out of it. At number 3 we have Super Mario Land 2 The 6 Golden Coins. This game was a huge improvement over the original Super Mario Land and is easily one of my favourite games on the system. As you'd expect, Super Mario Land 2 is full of memorable music and levels. The game features a world map where you can choose to play stages in any order and introduces Wario for the first time as the main villain. There's also a carrot power-up item that gives Mario little rabbit ears that I haven't seen in any other game since. Definitely pick this up if you own a Game Boy, as it is equally as essential as Tetris in my opinion. At number 2 we have Wario Land, which is actually listed as Super Mario Land 3. Some may see that as breaking the rules a little by having 2 games from the same franchise in this list, but personally I consider this to be okay, as the gameplay and pacing feels considerably different. Plus, this spawned off a whole new Wario Land series which I absolutely love. As Wario, you get to shoulder barge, stomp and throw your enemies. There's a few different hats that grant special abilities, and hidden treasure in certain levels you'll want to find to give you that best ending. The idea here is to get Wario a new castle, which is bigger and better than before, and it's quite fun playing as the bad guy. The levels don't feel quite as varied as Mario Land 2, nor is the music as memorable, but this is a much bigger game with better graphics, a good sense of humour and a worthy addition to anyone's Game Boy collection. Okay, so this choice was predictable, huh? Pokémon Red and Blue is where it all started, and I invested hours into these games and managed to acquire all 151 thanks to my friend Tom, who traded me a Mew. Whilst the Pokémon series has evolved over the years, for me nothing quite beats the first generation in terms of the characters, creatures and story. I absolutely love the original Pokémon and was amazed at how big an adventure could fit into such a small cartridge on a handheld console. If you'd like to experience it a little more like the animated series, then definitely go with the yellow version, as you get to start with Pikachu and fight Jessie and James from Team Rocket. There are a few other little enhancements as well, but if you want the choice of Bulbasaur, Charmander or Squirtle, be sure to try out the red or blue version. For those interested, I started with red. So that was my list of the top 7 games I recommend for anyone starting their original Game Boy collection. I do hope to cover the Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance in the future. What did you think of this list? And what are your favourite games on the system? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, thanks for watching.